Good morning, and welcome to Lesson 14 in our study of the book of Judges. This is a relatively short passage. It's the last part of chapter 11, starting at verse 29 through to the end. But although it's a short, there's an important lesson to be learned here. So we're still talking about Jephthah, this leader of Israel, who was born of a harlot, who was then convinced to lead Israel against the Ammonites. And as we start in verse 29, it says, "The Spirit of the Lord came upon Jephthah, and he passed through Gilead and Manasseh, and passed through Mizpah and of Gilead, Mizpah, and advanced to the people of Ammon." He was winning the war with God's help. Now, Jephthah apparently knew the scrolls, the Old Testament scrolls of Moses, because in the previous part of the chapter he gave a good summary of what had happened to the Israelites from their journey through Egypt into the Promised Land. And he obviously knew this history. He knew this part of the scrolls. But it's doubtful whether he knew all the scrolls. He's like we are today. We study parts of the Bible, but we don't study all of the Bible. And sometimes by doing that, we miss out on important connections and important teachings. So Jephthah knew the Bible up to that time, the Old Testament, but he apparently did not recognize all of it, because then he did something very foolish. Although he was a man of courage, a man of valor, a man of strength, he did something which was foolish, because it says he made a vow to the Lord. And said, "If you will indeed deliver the people of Ammon into my hands, then it will be that whatever comes out of the doors of my house to meet me when I return in peace from the people of Ammon shall surely be the Lord's, and I will deliver it up as a burnt offering." He made a vow to God that he would do this. Now God was already on his side. He was advancing in his conquests. Why did he make a vow to God? See, a vow is considered to be an attempt to manipulate God. This is what a vow sometimes is described as. So why would Jephthah make this vow? The Bible is full of warnings about making vows to God. For some examples, Deuteronomy 23, 21 to 23 says, "When you make a vow to the Lord your God, you shall not delay to pay it, for the Lord your God will certainly require it of you, and it would be sin to you. But if you abstain from vowing, it shall not be a sin to you. That which has gone from your lips you shall keep and perform, for you voluntarily vowed to the Lord your God what you have pronounced with your mouth." In other words, if you vow, it is a pronouncement and a contract with God. And we tend to do this all the time. We often make little vows to God and bring God into the picture. And we don't sometimes understand what this may mean. We often say, "I swear to God I'll be there," or "I swear to God I'll do that," or "I'll be there, so help me God." And once you do that, this is in effect a vow. So this was one example from Deuteronomy. There's another example in Ecclesiastes chapter 5, where it says, "Walk prudently when you go to the house of God, and draw near to hear rather than to give the sacrifice of fools, for they do not know that they do evil. Do not be rash with your mouth, and let not your heart utter anything hastily before God, for God is in heaven and you on earth. Therefore let your words be few. For a dream comes through much activity, and a fool's voice is known by his many words." A caution about making a vow. There's a further caution in Matthew. Matthew chapter 5, verse 33. "Again you have heard that it was said to those of old, you shall not swear falsely, but shall perform your oath to the Lord. But I say to you, do not swear at all, neither by heaven, for it is God's throne, nor by the earth, for it is his footstool, nor by Jerusalem, for it is the city of the great King. Nor shall you swear by your head, because you cannot make one hair white or black. But let your yes be yes, and your no, no, for whatever is more than these is from the evil one. There are real warnings about making vows to God and then not potentially keeping them. And this is what Jephthah did. He made this vow to God that whatever would come out of his house first, then he would sacrifice it or shall belong to the Lord's. So it says that Jephthah advanced towards the people of Ammon. He defeated them. He destroyed many cities. He did a great victory. But when he came back to his house, the first thing that came out of his house to meet him was his daughter, the one he had vowed to bring to the Lord's. So Jephthah and his daughter apparently talked, and she said, she said to him, my father, if you have given your word to the Lord, do to me according to what has gone out of your mouth, because the Lord has avenged you of your enemies, the people of Ammon. But let me be alone for 2 months, that I may go and wander on the mountains and bewail my virginity, my friends and I. So he said, go, and he sent her away for the 2 months with her friends to bewail her virginity. Now, it was important for girls in those days, particularly to be married and to have children, and to remain a virgin was a great distress. To be barren was considered a curse from God, but this was a virginity. This was a way that this vow may have been fulfilled. And it says that when she returned to her father and he carried out his vow with her, which she had vowed, she knew no man. Now, the question always is, first of all, not to vow, not to make false vows that you don't keep to God. And there are many other examples. It talks about in the 5th chapter of Acts, it talks about Ananias and Sapphira, who made a vow to sell their land and give all the money to the disciples. They gave part of the money to the disciples and kept some for themselves, and they were punished by death that same day. It says in Psalm 56:12, "You vows made to you, the God, are binding upon me, O God." Psalm 76:11, "Make vows to the Lord your God and pay them." Psalm 66:13 and 14, "I will pay you my vows which my lips have uttered, and my mouth has spoken when I was in trouble." We often make vows when we're in trouble, when things go bad for us, when there's a calamity or a tragedy. We make a vow to God, "Oh God, if you just help my children, if you help my life, if you help my husband or wife, I will serve you, I will do this." And then when the trouble is over, the vow is often forgotten. But God is not to be made a fool of. The Bible says God is not to be mocked. When you make a vow to God, you are expected to keep it. So what did Jephthah do? Jephthah told his daughter to go for the 2 months, bewail her virginity, and then come back. And then it says Jephthah kept his vow. Now there is a great deal of controversy over actually what happened, because it says in Deuteronomy 12, "You shall not worship the Lord your God in that way," in the way of the pagan peoples, other peoples who did have child sacrifices, who did require child sacrifices, the god of Moab and the god of Ammon. It says, "You will not worship the Lord your God in that way, for every abomination to the Lord, which he hates, they have done to their gods." How they worshipped, how the pagan people worshipped, how those who are not of the God of Jehovah worshipped their God. he considered an abomination. And this is what he said he hates, what they have done to their gods, for they have even sacrificed their sons and daughters in the fire to their gods. You will not do this. So Japheth said he will make his daughter a burnt offering to God. It was against God's will that anybody sacrifice a child to him. So what really happened? There are different views on this. There are different commentaries on this. Some people think that he did actually sacrifice his daughter because of his influence of the pagan nations around him. But this was contrary to what God had asked anyone of the Israelite people to do. Others say that he sent his daughter to be a temple, maiden in the temple, a virgin, perpetual virgin, so that she would know no man, as the Bible says. This would be somewhat equivalent to what the Roman Catholic Church used to do with the nuns, with those orders of women who would, in a sense, marry Christ and have no marriage otherwise. So this was sort of the same thing in the temple there. So did Japheth's daughter, did he give her to the temple as a perpetual virgin to be in the temple, or did he actually sacrifice her as he had initially promised as a burnt offering to God? This is something which God never asked, never requested, never expected, apparently. It is a controversy which some commentators say one way and some the other. It's interesting that the historian Josephus and the early church father Tertullian both indicate that this child went to the temple as a virgin for her life. In any way, Japheth made this vow, which was foolish, which he should not have done. And God himself says, do not make vows. Let your yes be yes, and your no be no. Be truthful. Give the truth. If you're going to do something, just say, yes, I'll do it. If you're going to be somewhere, say, yes, I'll be there. If you can't do it, then say no. But don't make a vow to God. If you make a vow, you're expected to keep it. It says, if you make a vow and break it, that's a sin. If you don't make a vow, then there is no sin involved. And this was Japheth's dilemma. He foolishly made a vow to God when he didn't have to do it, when it wasn't expected. It was a voluntary thing. God didn't demand it of him. This was what he did. And this was the whole lesson of this part of the story, about making a foolish vow and then having to keep it. He did keep it in exactly the way we're not sure. It depends upon which commentary you listen to. But anyway, his daughter, in some way, was removed from society and was either at the temple as one of the ladies in the temple for her life, or she was actually sacrificed to God. We'll never really know for sure, at least we don't know from the commentaries that I've read. Anyway, she knew no man because of this vow that her father foolishly made. And it says it became a custom in Israel that the daughters of Israel went 4 days each year to lament the daughter of Japheth, the Gileadite. This was a story which was remembered by those people. It's not mentioned much today, but it was mentioned and remembered by the people in those days for many, many years. So the main message of this story is, God is on your side. If God is helping you, God will help you. Don't make foolish vows to him unless you're prepared to keep them. Let your yes be yes, your no be no, and let no vow enter in. A vow to God is a promise that has to be kept. And sometimes we don't know what happens when we fail to keep that vow, what may befall us, or what tragedies may develop because of our failure to do our part. So let your yes be yes, your no be no, no vows made foolishly or irresponsibly, and then not kept. This is the lesson from this part of this book of Judges. So next week we're going to get into chapter 12. I hope you'll follow along with me, and join me for that lesson. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.